Welcome back. The government shutdown has now stretched into day 30. The Senate is expected to leave town after votes today, but they are not currently scheduled to vote again on a House-passed measure to reopen the government. House Speaker Mike Johnson spoke this morning about the upcoming deadline of the expiration of SNAP food assistance benefits.
As I mentioned on Saturday, things are going to become very dire. There is one way out of this, the easy way, the obvious way, and that is for the Democrats to do their job and vote for the CR.
All right, I want to bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion, who's on Capitol Hill once again for us today. Nikole, thank you. We are 2 days away from the upcoming freeze of SNAP benefits. So does the Senate have a plan to address it before then?
Well, look, I mean, I think it's important to keep this all in perspective, right? Because we have seen a number of different bills, to pay furloughed federal workers, to pay air traffic controllers. Obviously, in light of the situation with SNAP benefits potentially expiring, there has been this flurry of legislation around trying to keep that program funded, whether you're talking about a bill from Josh Hawley, a Republican from Missouri, who introduced a standalone bill last week, to the one that was just introduced yesterday by Senate Democrats to fully fund not only SNAP, but also WIC, the Women, Infants, and Children's program that's also administered through USDA. So from that standpoint, yes, there are efforts. There is bipartisan support both in the Senate and the House for these measures. But at this point, Republican leaders don't appear poised to bring those up, precisely because, at least in terms of the view of Majority Leader John Thune, he would rather just fund the government in full. And he has made that argument time and again on the floor. So rather than picking this group or that group, his objective is to try to really target these 5 Senate Democrats that he believes will ultimately fold or crack to sign on to some type of temporary funding measure to keep the government running for the next few weeks here.
So House members were told that their paychecks would be delayed until Congress passes new funding. Does this ramp up pressure on lawmakers?
Well, again, I think there are just so many pressure points right now. How do you outweigh one over the other, right? Whether, again, it's congressional staffers, whether it's folks who aren't getting the SNAP benefits. We haven't even talked about Head Start. A lot of those centers, their funding is due to lapse November 1st. You have the air traffic controllers, some of whom may be at the White House later today, or those within the airline industry who are concerned about their fate. And even when we talk about congressional staffers, let's not forget people like the janitors, the folks who work in the cafeteria, people who do the maintenance here in this building. Those folks aren't getting paid either. So, there is frustration and pain no matter how you slice it or cut it. And so from that standpoint, again, the main objective on the part of leadership is to try to fund the government in full so all of the funding for these various constituencies can start flowing again. But again, the Democrats, as we've been reporting for the better part of this month, continue to insist that these premium hikes that are going to come due November 1st when this open enrollment period hits for the Affordable Care Act could be a reckoning moment. They argue for Republicans where they too will see those spike prices and maybe at that point come to the negotiating table. At least that's how Leader Schumer put it to me earlier this week. So we'll just have to see. We're continuing to wait to see which side blinks first here.
Yeah, sadly, in the meantime, so many people being affected by this. Nikole Killion, thank you so much for that explanation. Really makes a lot of sense.